We all have questions about our health, our careers, and the world around us. This is Ask. Always stay knowledgeable, a BlueCross BlueShield of South Carolina podcast, where real experts break down the topics that impact your life every day. Simple, clear, and built for you.
Welcome to today's episode. We're talking about community relations and how we make a difference in South Carolina. We're joined by Elizabeth, who's been with the company for 27 years and champions our mission to make South Carolina healthy. Thank you.
Happy to be here.
So to start, can you give us a high-level overview of what community relations looks like for BlueCross BlueShield of South Carolina?
Yeah. So we are really focused on investing in our communities to make them healthy and strong. We do that through corporate contributions. We have strategic partnerships with many different nonprofit organizations across the state. So, corporate contributions is definitely a huge focus of the giving that we do, contributions and donations to different nonprofit organizations. On the employee side, employee giving and employee volunteerism is really strong too. I think all of those things combined really have created a really strong opportunity for us to support a plethora of different nonprofits across the state and really strengthen our communities, helping them be stronger and more vibrant.
Why is this effort important to BlueCross?
I think supporting our communities is really important to the company. It's really ingrained in the values that we display every day. I think in the work that we do, in the community work that we do, from a customer service perspective to volunteerism to serving on boards, we want to make our communities stronger and vibrant. So that involves us investing dollars that will help shape our community, shape our environment. It's everything from arts education to health and human service. We understand that a multitude of things make for a strong community. And these are the things that are going to help us retain talent in our community, attract other industries to our community, help better the health of our community members, and really just create a great working environment for our employees.
Can you walk us through a community initiative or partnership that you think best represents BlueCross's mission in this space?
We've had several initiatives that I think have been incredibly significant in highlighting our commitment to our communities. Two things that I can think of, and they probably date back about 10 to 15 years ago, but the support that we gave for the Nickelodeon Theater and the Columbia Museum of Art. If you recall back then, Main Street was a completely different environment. A lot of the industries and smaller companies that had been there were kind of, were struggling or going out of business, or they had a lot of empty spaces. And, then both of those organizations decided to make a move from their previous locations and were looking at Main Street. And we provided them operational funding that enabled them to make that move. And I think it really changed the landscape of downtown. So while we can't say, we are directly responsible for Main Street, I think in providing funding that supported two really strong anchors in our community, helping them make that transition to that Main Street location, I think we've contributed to the revival that we've seen in that location. You go there on any given Saturday and they've got the markets and there's vendors and, entrepreneurs that are able to operate their businesses. I think I'm really proud that we played a role in creating a Main Street community like it is now. The other initiative that I think our support has been really substantial in bolstering has been through the BlueScholars Program. That is an initiative that we started in 2022 with Claflin and Benedict College. We have a cohort of students that apply to the program. They have expectations, GPA expectations when they apply, and they're selected. And we are able to provide them with free room and board and tuition. We also are able to provide them with internship opportunities at BlueCross. So this program has really been a pipeline to education and a pipeline to the workforce because they're able to gain internship experience in a professional setting. We're getting ready to graduate our first cohort of students this spring, which is just really exciting. And several of those students, I think about 6 of those students, are going to be coming and working at BlueCross. These are 3 different programs, 2 that are arts focused, 1 education focused, but they still are game changers in really changing the landscape of our downtown, and then another one changing the future and opportunities for a cohort of students.
It's like seeing the ripple effect. It's not just a standing alone on an island. Like, we're a part of this community, and it kind of touches everything, right?
Absolutely. I think where you see us gain traction is the long relationships we have with many organizations. I mean, we've been supporting the HBCUs in our state for, they far precede me joining the company for, 50 to 60 years. We have deep relationships with many of the schools and the universities too. Same with a lot of the arts organizations. We had leadership way back when in the 80s that really understood creating a strong community. There were many different facets that needed to be involved, including a vibrant arts community. And that is what is going to attract, people to our city and to our state.
And then that feeds back into your workforce, like you said, like it affects the company directly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, our employees are here and, they want to have a variety of different experiences living in this community. And so we're supporting the nonprofit organizations, we're supporting the clients they serve, and ultimately we're supporting our employees too.
So that's like a perfect segue into our next conversation and talking about how employees feed into this effort. So how are employees involved in our community relations efforts?
Our employees are really incredibly stellar. I think the reason why we receive the accolades we do, the reason why I'm here is really because of our employees and the work that they do. I think without hesitation, if there's ever a need, our employees step up. This year, and honestly, the last few years with Doing Good Works Day, our Community Day of Service and Action, those slots fill up in no time. So employees are really eager to serve. They are eager to give back to their communities. They are as committed. They see the commitment from the top down, and they emulate that each and every day. I think volunteerism gives them a chance to interact with their coworkers, their team members, their supervisors, people they don't know, in a different way. They get to be engaged. They get to give back. They get to learn about what each other does for Blue Cross. They get to learn about different nonprofit organizations. They get to discover where their passions are, where their interests are. Over the years, we've had employees that have worked on corporate campaigns, and as a result, they've decided to join boards, join committees, serve in different capacities. And I think the fact that through our community engagement, it's a conduit to get them exposure to opportunities and organizations that they probably previously were never aware of.
You mentioned Doing Good Works Day, but for people who don't know what that is, could you explain a little bit about what Doing Good Works Day is?
I'd love to explain Doing Good Works Day. It's our day of service. I think what differentiates us from so many others is that employees give up their weekends to come support the community. It's just an opportunity for us to, outside of the office, spend some time together in community and fellowship, but really in giving back to nonprofit organizations. And the work that we do runs the gamut from, revitalization, beautification, to sorting clothes, to sorting food at the food banks, to, delivering meals to seniors, to writing notes to soldiers. We even have some volunteer opportunities. We have some employees that have made lasagna and given those to their neighbors in need. We really try to create a diverse array of activities for employees to participate. So there's really something for everyone. You can build a house for Habitat, or you can go garden at Epworth, and a little bit of sweat equity, and makes a huge difference to those nonprofit organizations.
That's just one day, but our employees give, and they are involved all year long.
Absolutely. We have campaigns that take place throughout the year. We try to space those out. But we try to create opportunities for our employees to give back through different organizations year round. There's really something for everyone. Different programs resonate with different employees, for a myriad of reasons. And we try to make sure that we kind of can accommodate and work with them, meet them where they are.
And I was just working on something recently about it. It also, like you were talking earlier, about how employees can find what interests them. We have those things across the community, from the upstate to low country, everywhere, and in different pockets. Like we have a military group that does work with veterans organizations. So it really kind of becomes what the employees want it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell you that, 27 years ago when I started at Blue Cross, I think in that first year, there was an issue at the food bank. And we had an employee that reached out to the CEO and said, can we do something? And that was really, for me, that was when our relationship with the food bank really started, was from an employee that just said, hey, I think there's a need. What can we do as a company? And it kind of snowballed from there and grew. But a lot of things that we do, we listen to our employees. We listen to the nonprofits and we listen to our employees because we want to make sure that we are addressing those needs that exist. We're not trying to, create challenges for nonprofits, especially like with something like Doing Good Work Stay. We really want to make sure it fulfills the need of the organization and we're not having them jump through hoops to create something for us. So if it's not a good fit, they might decide not to work with us for a year or two. But, the same for employees. I think we try to listen to those things that they're interested in. And as much as we can, we try to accommodate their needs too. Obviously in line with what applies to Blue Cross as a company. Health and human services, kind of our primary focus area. Investing in healthier communities is very important and critical to us. So those are the types of organizations that we definitely look to support first. I think the goal for us in looking at the organizations we support, the volunteer work that we do, it's always the idea of keeping our community healthy. There are so many disparities that exist in our state, unfortunately. We know diabetes, mental health, access, food access is really critical. We have a huge, unhoused population. So there are a lot of organizations that are working towards addressing those issues. Those are the issues that I think really impact the health and well-being of so many in our community. So that is where a lot of our resources are poured into from a corporate perspective. And then we try to do the same from kind of an employee engagement perspective too.
While we're talking about employees, do you see that making an impact in employee morale or the way that people feel working for Blue Cross?
I think our employee involvement and volunteerism definitely impacts morale. I think, employees are really eager to give back. And anytime that we can facilitate that, our job is well done. And really, again, we talked about this earlier, that whole idea of we want it to be more than just a one and done. I think anytime an employee can kind of take the ball and run with it and they discover that this is an area of focus that they really want to delve deeper into and find other ways to support the organization, even outside of Blue Cross, more power to them. We fully support that. Our goal is to, provide opportunities for our employees to really see the depth and breadth of the nonprofit communities and the different things they can do. We have Giving Magazine and Doing Good Work Day. Those are two examples of opportunities that are designed to really educate employees about how our communities are impacted. And here are some opportunities or things that you can do to support.
So community relations is a big umbrella. What is something that you want people to understand about this work?
I think helping people understand really the value of the community support that we provide. There are countless times, you see our logo on a billboard, you see our logo on a shirt, we're sponsoring events. It's really significant what we're able to do because we are really changing the lives of a multitude of people. I think that we form we have long and deep partnerships with many different organizations in our state. We've been in this community for almost 80 years. I think we're at 80 years now. So we really know and understand what the needs are. And we have frequent and deep conversations with the nonprofits to make sure that we are aware of changes that are occurring. We are aware of where the needs are. And we do what we can to address those from a corporate perspective and from an employee perspective, too. I think we really try to form these relationships and form these partnerships in order to really address those critical issues at the end of the day. We want to be a player in creating a healthier community for everybody, a stronger economy for everybody in our state. And the variety of ways in which we give, whether it is through the arts or education, economic development, community and civic engagement, those together all create a stronger environment for everybody. There are challenges, there are things that obviously are going to take a little bit of time or a lot of time, but along the way, we want to play a role in being a game changer for our state.
Because we're here, we're local. The employees live here and they live in these communities. And I mean, that's just who we are. It's embedded in BlueCross BlueShield of South Carolina.
It's absolutely embedded in our culture. It's who we've been from the get-go, I think. We have data that goes back to the 80s and meetings and notes from, previous executive directors when they met with organizations that were just beginning back then that is still around now. I think we have that deep history that, maybe there are some other companies that don't have, those deep threads like we do. But I think it really shows, the depth and breadth of who we are and the support that we give to a lot of organizations in our state.
Okay, you were just talking about the 80s, and you've been here for 27 years. So
I was a child in the 80s.
Okay, but you've had a long career here, and you've been doing this really important work for a while. And so I'm curious, looking back, do you have anything that stands out that touched you that was meaningful for you?
Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of moments here at Blue that have been incredibly touching. One of the great things that I was able to do, I mean, it was a incredibly challenging time period, but Hurricane Katrina, when that happened, there was a huge contingent of Blue Cross employees that went downtown and helped, a lot of the evacuees that had come to our state from Louisiana. We had a whole intake process and getting them resources and getting them situated here. Blue Cross even helped house some folks at one of the local hotels near here, and subsequently even hired some evacuees that stayed with the company for a good while. But in addition to that, we actually worked with the American Red Cross, and we were able to volunteer. I think about 200 employees volunteered down in Louisiana. So I spent about 10 days in Hammond, Louisiana, volunteering at an American Red Cross shelter. And it was a great experience. I mean, it was heart-wrenching because all these families had been displaced and, they didn't know what their next steps were. But, we were there to just provide comfort and support, and we read to the kids, played with the kids, prepared meals. And one of the most touching moments during that was, I think I was there over a weekend, and, we were staying at a church, and one of the churches was housing some of the families from Louisiana, and we sat in the back, but we went to church, and then there were some little kids who were sitting in the front pew, and they turned around and saw us, and they ran and sat next to us because we had been at the shelter with them. And then they each had a little dollar in their hands to give, for the offering. And we were so moved that here you were in a situation where your family had lost everything, and, you were displaced. You weren't around your friends. You weren't around, the environment that you were used to, but you still were able to give. That was, I think, really probably one of the most moving experiences that I've had. And I'm ever grateful for Blue Cross for giving that to me because, our leadership understood that, we needed to be responsive, and it was, a Herculean effort, but, with the resources that the company put in and allowing people to go volunteer down in Louisiana, but Louisiana and Mississippi, I believe. But, the company understood that, this was a time that, support needed to be given to our neighbors, not just in South Carolina, but our neighbors, around us.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. Okay. So my last question is for anyone, whether it's an individual or a company in our community or broadly, that want to give back, what advice do you have, or what should they know or be thinking about?
If you're interested in giving back in some form to a nonprofit, I think, just, start small. Start small. You don't have to be on the board right away. Just start volunteering. Get to know those organizations. They will bend over backwards because they're always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for support. One of the first things I did when I moved to South Carolina 27 years ago was volunteer through a professional or a PR organization because, that was a career I was going into and I needed to kind of, get to know people. I knew nobody when I moved down here. And, subsequently as a result, got involved with other organizations, other nonprofit organizations. But, find what your passion is. If you like, reading to kids, there's lots of opportunities to do programs along those lines. Harvest Hope Food Bank is always looking for people to help sort food, and it will snowball from there. Just, take the time to figure out what is the best fit for you. And then, serve on committees, volunteer. We're all blessed with different talents, and there are different ways in which we can give back. For some people, it's sorting food. For other people, it might be more skills-based. But there is a great need, and I think any nonprofit would welcome volunteers at any level.
That's really great advice. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here and doing this today.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all, and we hope you join us again next time.